you ever wondered how to adjust the length of a raglan sweater yoke? It is a pretty daunting task because raglan sweaters, I'm specifically talking about seamless raglan sweaters now. Every part of it is interconnected to the other. So changing one part relative to the others can have knock-on effects that perhaps you haven't really foreseen before. Now, there are ways of doing it, but you need to understand how it all fits together in order to be able to anticipate the kind of changes you're going to see. So first of all, let's start off talking about what a raglan sweater is and what makes it different from other sweater types. So when we talk about raglan, what we're actually referring to are these seams, which would be known as the raglan seams. When you're doing a raglan sweater, everything starts up at the neck, the body, so the front of the body and the back of the body would be the same. The sleeves start here and the other sleeve starts here. So everything begins up at the neck. And then in order to make everything bigger, you start increasing as you work your way down the yoke. So this is the top of your yoke, and the yoke finishes when you hit the underarm. So for a typical raglan, seamless raglan, if you have no modifications whatsoever, what you're going to have is you'll have increases at the front of the body here and here, same on the back, increases here and here on one of the sleeves, and increases here and here for the other sleeve. So that's going to give you 8 increases on an increase round. Typical raglan, if you're doing it in the round, that increase round will happen every second round. And that's going to create are equivalent to almost a perfect circle, increasing as you go down and creating a cone of knitting to fit your body. Now, because we don't all work like that, you may find that you need to make some modifications. Whether it's when you increase down like that, everything increases at the same rate. So for that one, you'll start here with the body, and if you've got the same amount of increases here as you do the sleeve, you're going to add the same amount to the sleeves as you do for the body. And I don't know about you, but for most people, your sleeves or your arms don't increase at the same rate that your bust does. Unless you're like, there's some very, very small range of sizes where that's the case. But for more sizes, particularly for anything from like medium and up, by the time you reach the size of the body you want, the sleeves will be way too big. And for very small sizes, if you only bring it as far as the body width, the sleeve won't be big enough. So you've got all of these problems, which are meaning that if you go with that typical increase, it's going to end up not fitting your body very well. Something is either going to be too tight or too loose. And of course, into this mix, you also have to think about the depth of your raglan so that when you put it on and you've got all of the increases you want, it fits nicely, so it fits in the underarm area that you want. So there's the kind of things you want the neck to fit, you want the sleeves to fit, you want the bust to fit, and you want that the right depth. So it can seem a little overwhelming, but within my patterns, and you can kind of use that for a template if you want to modify a pattern that doesn't have any of those variations, I do what would be known as a modified raglan. And with that, what you're doing is you start with the standard raglan, and then for sizes where you don't want the sleeve as big, what you start doing is, as you move down and do the body increases, you slow the sleeve increases down. So every second raglan increase round, you'll do a body only increase round, and there'd be no sleeve increases. And what this does is it'll slow the number of stitches you have for your sleeve, and that will allow you to have enough body stitches without overdoing the size of the sleeves. And then the third thing that I also end up doing with that is you also want to make sure it's deep enough without having too many increases. So again, I'll start with the raglan increases, and then I may move to body only and then slowing down the sleeves. And I may perhaps take it one step further if the yoke still doesn't look like it's going to be deep enough. What I'll start doing then is I'll start spacing those out. So I may have it where I have extra rounds where there are no increases. So I still have some of the shaping happening, but it's really, really slowing down. And all of those end up meaning that you'll have the neck, the body, the sleeve, and the yoke depth all working for your body size. So you can go ahead and if you want to actually do one yourself, but you don't know how it's going to fit, start with the neck size you want, start with the raglan shaping, and then measure how deep you want it to be, and figure out how many rows in the way it's written you have, and how many you need to add, how many you need to take away, how many sleeve increases you need to take away, or perhaps body increases. And you can just start sketching it up yourselves. If you jump over to me now, we can take a look on paper what that's going to look like as you're drawing it out, and it might help you visualize it a little bit more clearly. When you're creating a top-down raglan, you begin at the neck here with all of your stitches. So you'll have some stitches for the front of the body, some stitches for the back of the body. If this is assuming you're working a sweater in the round, if it was a cardigan, obviously it would be a few stitches here and a few stitches here. You may also possibly have some variations where you've got some neck shaping happening here where it increases. But if we start with just a very basic raglan where you've cast on all your stitches at the same time, it would be half of the body stitches would be on the back, half of them would be the front. There will be the top of your sleeve stitches over here and your top of your other sleeve stitches over here. And then each of these lines would be what's known as our raglan seams. Now, for a typical top-down sweater, if it's being knit in the round, you're going to knit around like this. One round will just be knit, and then the next round you're going to have what you call raglan increases, where it's coming down this way. You'll have an increase on this side and on this side of the seam, on this side and this side of the seam, this side and this side, this side and this side. So that's 8 increases in total. 2 on the front of the body, 2 on the back of the body, 2 on one sleeve and 2 on the other sleeve. And so for a typical top-down raglan, what you're going to have is you're going to have that increase round every second round, and we're going to give you quite a nice little circle like this, going from here with all of these increases every second round happening, 8 increases going down. Now, for a body where the sleeves do not grow as much as the body does, if you keep that ratio going, what will end up happening is by the time you get to the depth of the yoke you want and have the width of the body that you want here and here, your sleeve stitches will be too big. So what I like to do for that is I will initially keep going with those increases on the body at the rate you want, just every second round, and with the sleeve. So you start like that. Then if you want to get enough depth of the sleeve of the body but not have as many, you'll start doing the sleeve increases every second round, and initially having every body increase every round. And then for most sizes you'll find that you can start slowing both down so that you still have all of the increases, but you keep that yoke depth deep enough because you don't want it too shallow. You can do the opposite if you've got a smaller body where you don't need quite as many stitches here. If it will mean that by the time you reach the body stitches you want on the front and the back, you could have sleeves that are too small, and in that case what you can actually do is you'll start slowing the body stitches down while you keep a steady increase in the sleeve stitches. So by knowing the size of the neck you want, the size of the lower body and the size of each of the sleeves, you can adjust each of these kind of separately so that each of them will fit the body correctly where you want them to fit. So it is a little bit of a juggling act, and if you're trying it for yourself, then you probably just want to try it on as you're going, keep an eye on your gauge, and make sure that if your gauge is changing, or if you're realizing that perhaps your upper arm is different from what's given in the pattern, or your body is different to what's given in the pattern, that you can use these techniques to actually change it as you go through.